Oh, good. Right, they should have this by now, hopefully. You'll remember last weekend I received a letter saying they'd invented a court case because they don't seem to realise that if the court order's wrong, they have to go back to the beginning and start changing that all over again. So what I did was I wrote to Ian Davies at HDC and I copied it to the court with a little note, and the Chief Constable. Thank you for your letter of 24th August. Reference. I shall coordinate all your correspondence along with the courts in this reply and copy it to the court and the Chief Constable. Firstly, for you to say, if I have a complaint, it just shows you up for the lying, duplicitous fake you are. You know fine well I have a complaint, that being in the first instance, the first words out the magistrate's mouth were, did I have the cash on me? If you think a hearing like that constitutes any form of law and order, you are sadly mistaken and a fraud. Secondly, I was not allowed to produce any evidence despite the reassurance of the police and Marston's bailiffs on the day, as all my evidence was bagged up downstairs in the cells and I was not allowed access to it. This is only further proof of my claim that we are living in a dictatorship, however. That the police and the bailiffs on the day acted illegally is not only common knowledge, but sadly to be expected apparently, as HDC continues to enforce the law illegally. Thirdly, you are more than well aware why I have not paid the council tax as your court order, and I strongly suspect you did in fact print it off, was incorrect and therefore unlawful. As I have said, you are quite welcome to come and arrest Paul Dacres living at this address, born on the 4th of July 1976, but I doubt you will find him. The fact the order was also unsigned means anyone could have sent it, and it is therefore irrelevant. Do you people not understand the law? Because I don't like signing things. And that document they sent me last week was obviously a copy, because when I looked at it later again, actually the signature was like almost half cut off, so they obviously hadn't even copied that very well. Thereafter I noticed the court, if indeed they had anything to do with it, given the scanned on illegible signature, has ramped up another court case, where presumably the intention is for me to go in front of the same clearly biased magistrate, and I will then not be allowed to produce any evidence a second time before he then finds me guilty of a civil offence before committing me to jail illegally. Quite honestly, mate, who is really going to arrest me if I don't turn up? Your clowns from Marsden's again, or perhaps another policeman who doesn't like reading people their rights. Now for that you have to watch Illegal Arrest 1, 2 and 2, or part 2 of 2. While I recall, incidentally, I do hope the date of birth on the arrest warrant was correct, or I'm going to sue Marsden's and HDC for £25,000 for false imprisonment and illegal arrest. And speaking of which, quite why you haven't arrested me yet, since you seem so convinced I have broken the law, is beyond me. Perhaps because you're making up the law as you go along. And while I'm on it, I now have evidential proof that HDC, the courts produce illegal summons, warrants, arrest warrants and court orders, but of course Cambridgeshire Police approve of this behaviour. I didn't consider this till, well, when I wrote this, obviously. But obviously, they're so convinced that I've broken the law that they've already arrested me, taken me to court, issued a court order against me, and obviously if I didn't pay that, I should just be arrested outright. Police or whoever could just knock on my door any time and say, right, you've broken this court order. But no, they want me back in court. And it was actually, as I recall, it was to, discuss the committal order. But there's nothing to discuss. You don't have a fucking committal order. Your court order's fucking wrong. You muppets. So yeah, if I'm the only one working within the actual meaning of the law here, by the way, by not paying a dodgy court order, because I'm quite entitled to do that. Seems to me it's everyone else is breaking it. You are right in one thing, there can be a retrial. In fact, there has to be, really, given I have triggered it under Minister of Justice Regulations, Practice Direction, Part 40B, Judgments and Orders, Section 4.4. I would welcome, in fact, the same magistrate as I wished to ask him why his first concern was why I did not have the cash on me. I would also welcome his view as to why I was not allowed to present any evidence, and why there were only 3 of us in the room, no clerk of the court, no ushers, and no legal representation, as whether I required it or not, there should have been some there. Oh no, just the 3 of us. Cosy little party, yeah. And it was then intimated that I should shut up if I didn't want to get sent to jail and not keep talking about the ban from the council. But they'll know that because they'll have the court recording. Due, however, to the likelihood of myself having a surgical procedure around this time, I'm afraid I will be unable to attend on the 7th of September. I mean, I don't know the exact date yet, but by the time I do, it will be too late to postpone the hearing. So I'm telling you now. And unless you are operating a kangaroo court whereby the judges do exactly as you say because you hired the courtroom for the day and therefore effectively paid said judges to side with your case, there won't be a problem with postponement, will there? And while I remember, and since you mentioned Newlyn... Thanks for that, mate. Oh, some lunatic bus driver just pushed my mirrors in. To get past, obviously. And while I remember, and since you mentioned Newlyn, they will be getting reported to the police for malicious communication today. And they have been, because they've accepted that I've paid more than enough of this year's council tax, and they keep sending me emails saying I owe them £1,600 apparently. So that's just threatening behaviour. This delay, though, should allow us both time to collate and present our evidence. On my part, I wish to have the recording of the case on 3rd of August. All cases have to be recorded as a matter of public interest, and those which are not are unlawful. And a copy of the arrest warrant from the day of 3rd August. I present in turn the videos from my YouTube channel, the Paul Dacres channel, Illegal Arrest Parts 1, 2 and 2.2, and also a very corrupt Chief Constable. So you'd better have some Wi-Fi and a screening device handy for the day. Yes, and it would appear, I can't remember if I mentioned that already, but it would appear obviously the wrong date of birth was also in the arrest warrant. If that's the date of birth that was on the court order. And I got my date of birth out about 3 or 4 times that day, so... I don't know. So it was an illegal arrest, obviously, that being the case. Handy on the day. May I suggest Monday 3rd of October as a possible date, and I will look forward to receiving your evidence in the meantime, so as I may rebut any dubious claims, as you are welcome to do with the evidence I have provided. Unless, of course, you were operating a kangaroo court, whereby you have hired the courtroom for the day and therefore effectively paid the judge to side with your case. Your failure to reply to this letter will, of course, negate any possible chance of a retrial. I'll call it a retrial. It's a fucking joke, isn't it? 3 of you in there. No clerk of the court, nothing. Being intimated to shut up unless you want to be sent to jail anyway. Fucking incredible. But then, for those of you who've seen the video I did on Tommy Robinson last night, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. Yes, so not only is the court order still standing as far as I'm aware. I've written to the court and I've said I want to see the evidence that the council have reapplied to start this all over again. I haven't heard anything from them yet. But yes, they say they don't get these letters, you see, which is why I have to do this, unfortunately. It's not my fault they're liars, which I've proved about many of them on numerous occasions. But yeah, I think that's about as fair as I can put it, really. So we shall see.